Alright. Welcome everyone to Tabletop Tuesday, where we talk about tabletop gaming to educate you, to help you out, or to go over tabletop gaming news. Couple announcements to get out of the way before we get into the thick of things. Our sponsors for the foreseeable future, Shocked by Gaming Server and W Energy Drinks. Shocked by Gaming Servers, use the link down below. It helps me out, helps you out. You get a cheaper server. It works out nicely. W Energy Drinks, use code RubyMadHatter for 10% off all your purchases. All these drinks are like incredibly well flavored. People seem to like them a lot. And they keep you well energized. And they don't have a bunch of crazy shit in them that will basically hurt you. Next announcement is our art list. Check out those artists. They could always use more help. Things of that nature. Let me move this way some, so that way my wife is in the camera as well. Anne will be joining us today. So, fun times.
Leave it.
For the discussion, let me mix my tea here. Alright. So, what are we talking about today? Well, actually, first thing first, let's introduce our partner in crime, CandidGamera.
Hello.
Alright. I'm not sure if you're watching the stream or not, but we're about to show essentially what we're talking about today.
Oh, it didn't pop the pictures on top.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, wait. We need this. We need this for this.
Yeah, we need our popcorn. We have little bags of popcorn.
We need it for the bullshit.
This is a great fire. Keeps us nice and warm, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
I figured this was apropos and fitting.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you look at the OGL, this whole situation is a giant dumpster fire.
It is.
It's just massive,
really
of course.
Now, I went to school at a college that was known for couch fires, and this is worse than that.
Yes, welcome to our university, where greatness is learned and couches are burned. You're not getting my popcorn.
No.
So what are we talking about? We're going to be talking about the OGL 1.1.
The stupid debacle that this shit is.
Yep. The dumb debacle that it is.
The term that I've heard people throw around that seems appropriate is unforced error.
Unforced error. That's a good one. Unforced error.
It was
When
at
you
this
fuck
moment that
something
he
up
knew
when you had
he
no
fucked
real
up.
need to fuck it up. Nobody was making you fuck it up. You just decided to try something dumb. And...
All right. So have you heard about how long the OGL is, papers-wise?
I mean, supposedly it's the new one's about, what, 10,000 words?
No, it's longer than that.
Oh, they were. The initial release was claiming that it was about 10,000
10,000
words.
words. It's
Yeah.
90 pages long.
Is that
Mine.
including both the commercial and non-commercial versions, I
Yes.
guess? Okay.
The non-commercial license was 10,000 words long.
Okay.
Just that alone. Welcome, Mom Love Kebab. How are you? Well, we're going to be talking about a wonderful dumpster fire that's going on in our wonderful D&D community, which is pissing us all off.
Hence the popcorn.
Hence the popcorn. Because we're like, fuck it, let's eat some popcorn while we do this shit. Alright. So, we're going to educate some people.
It's a train wreck. All you want to do is stare and eat popcorn.
Yeah, well. Let's talk about what the old OGL used to do. I mean, we've kind of sort of discussed this before. But it never hurts to go back over it real quick as like a quick review.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would start with the fact that in the late 90s, TSR, the original publishers of Dungeons & Dragons, were basically bankrupt. They had invested heavily in things that didn't work out. The AD&D brand was spiraling, and thus they were able to be purchased by Wizards of the Coast, who had only existed for about 6-7 years at that point, on the strength of their revenue from Magic the Gathering, mainly.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that Wizards did was start development on 3rd edition D&D, and one of the byproducts of that was an open gaming license, because they thought it might get more people back into D&D if there's a way for other folks to release content. Because realistically, one of the things about the old business model that didn't work were adventure modules.
Yeah.
TSR was, publishing adventures, and they had a fairly low print run that would sell, and it just wasn't economical for them. But other little companies could produce them and make money because they could do the smaller print runs, and Wizards could just sell the main books. It was a nice synergy.
Yep. Give me one quick second. I'm going to try putting you on the speaker so Ann can hear you, and hopefully we don't have feedback. All right, give me a second.
Let me know when to test.
All right, go ahead and test.
Testing. Any feedback?
Are you getting feedback?
No.
Okay. Cool. Because that's what I was worried about, that it would broadcast you to yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, the OGL, which was released in the 1.0 and then quickly revised to a 1.0A, like within the first year, was a license agreement that said, hey, you can use all the basic rules for D&D to make whatever you want, as long as you don't do a couple of specific things, and we're going to hold back a few things as quote-unquote product identity, which means they are considered our intellectual property that you can't use, like beholders.
Which is fair.
I think you might not be coming through the speaker. God damn it. I'm going to have to do it this way. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Let me try that. Catch this. Okay. Properties. There he goes. Okay. There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah, because that way they can hear you.
Oh, okay. So people on the stream couldn't hear me?
I don't think they could.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, the 1.0 and 1.0A basically allowed people to play in the D&D sandbox. They could use a lot of the stuff that was Wizards' intellectual property, and Wizards was happy with that. And they just held back a few things, and yeah. There were even two versions of it. There was the D20 system license, where you could actually make official D&D tie-in products with like a symbol for compatibility and everything, and a less restrictive OGL where you could just say, yeah, this is compatible with the world's oldest fantasy role-playing game, and not mention D&D by name.
Yeah.
And the market exploded. Like,
oh yeah.
Living through the early 2000s, there were so many companies just shoveling out D20 product as fast as they could go. And a lot of it, to be fair, was crap.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of garbage back then. I'm trying to mess with the sound settings so that way you come through more clearly while we're talking. Because my microphone's still picking you up slightly, but not for Discord.
Okay.
But it is for OBS.
Okay.
If we stick the mic on the table, should it be better?
I don't think it reaches that far. Hi, dog.
Hi, doggo.
Those were my toes.
If you had another headset, that would be perfect.
No, it got killed.
Of course it did. All right. So either way.
Anyway, yeah, I'll try to speak up just to make myself as clear as possible.
Oh no, you're coming through clearly. It's the microphone's barely picking you up as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, it's interesting how that's coming across. Okay, enough. Go away. With that being said, yeah, it exploded in the early 2000s, and that's when, according to the text document for OGL, OGL 1.0a came out in 2000.
Yes.
So that's when it came into existence. That's where it happened. And we've had it since then.
Yep.
It has never changed. It's never been modified. It's been
Never
the
been
same.
needed to. It was.
Yeah.
It was vague enough, but specific enough at the same time that it worked beautifully as a legal document because it gave wiggle room to everybody.
Yeah, there are some vague bits in it that, you can tell that it was drafted by someone who was not a lawyer, but as long as everyone agreed on what it meant, it worked very well.
Oh yeah, it works beautifully. I'm gonna try and clean.
I think that went underneath the couch.
Yeah.
I'll get it later.
All right. I tried turning you up just a hair, just in case people can hear you better.
All right, testing.
All right. Hopefully that's fine. I just want to make sure you're also heard.
Sure, yeah.
Because, like, I'm plenty loud. I'm fairly certain it's your volume that I'm more worried about.
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe turn my gain up on Discord if it becomes a problem.
No. Like, your Discord volume is fine. I'm talking about in OBS.
Right, so it's just the relay from Discord to OBS.
Yeah. All right, so with that being said, then they decided this year to come up with the OGL 1.1. Now,
That was a fucking idea.
there are some problems, all right? Now let's talk about one of the rumors that we heard early on, which was this is a fake release.
Right.
It was
A
false.
lot of people were speculating that this was, some kind of trolling, that it had been released essentially to rile people up.
Right. Now, I talked to Ann about this.
You don't write a 90-page legal document to do that. That takes too much goddamn effort.
Well, the first version we got was not 90 pages. The first version we got was only partial.
Right. But it was about 2 or 3 days later when...
So from what I saw, there was way too much legalese for even somebody just to do it, just to screw with
No,
people.
they could probably do it if someone was really,
You have to be real gung-ho to do that.
And there was also speculation that it could be real, but it could have been a draft that was just being circulated like, hey, can we do this?
See, that I was more apt to believe.
But the thing of the matter is this, all right? About 48 to 72 hours later, after we had the leak, that's when, who is it? Not Roll20. It was a major company. Kickstarter, that's it.
Kickstarter.
That's when Kickstarter spoke out and said, yeah, it's real. We got it.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And that they worked out a deal with them to get a cheaper rate, which was only 5%.
Less.
Yeah.
Yeah, less. Which the people I've talked to who do publications, like I actually know published authors, some of them actually moderately famous. Like, I'm not sure if Redbeard's ever come in here when you've been here. But
I don't recall, so no.
okay, Redbeard Flint's one of the guys I know that streams as well. He's written a book, and it's actually gotten an award
Okay.
for historical science fiction.
Right on.
So he at least knows what he's doing.
He knows his stuff. He knows how to publish.
Knows how to publish, and he knows what the standard royalty rates are for publishing. which is usually what I got informed, not just by him but also by other people when I've asked questions beforehand, before this whole debacle.
Right.
Back when I was considering my book, was how much of a royalty should I be expecting if I use even the remotest thing? And I was told 1 to 3%.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the industry standard for writing.
Okay.
All right. So this 20 to 25% is considered extremely predatory.
Right. And it is also structured in a very peculiar way because it's 20 to 25% on revenue above 750,000. And you're like, "Oh, cool, if I make less than that, I get to keep all my money." Sure. But the weird thing is it can actually cause you to have a unprofitable Kickstarter if you get too much money raised.
Yeah.
Because your profit margin on these things is often less than 20%. So if you go too far above that $750,000, you start losing profit, and eventually that goes negative.
And now I do want to say this 750,000 cap or this 50,000 cap is gross income, i.e.,
Right,
not profits, just
correct.
all the money you ever earned.
That is why it's a problem, because if it was just like, oh, after your costs, whatever your profits are, we get 20% of that above 750,000.
If it was that,
wouldn't be bad.
If it was that, I wouldn't be so pissed. I would be like, okay, I lose 25% of my profits. Woo!
Right, but it's gross revenue, like you say.
Mm-hmm. And that is a problem. And some people are like, oh, it's still $750,000. I'm like, if you do even a moderately successful Kickstarter, you can hit that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's up? Man dropping in while I'm doing some work. Hope your night is great. Yeah, we're doing all right. We're discussing some D&D. We're discussing the OGL 1.1 and how bad it is and how it's screwing people. And some of the steps that have been taken to help correct this issue. Which I'm going to be sharing some information that I got from that Discord to help correct the issue. But if that was the only clause, though, I'd still be concerned. But I wouldn't be, like, recommending grabbing the torches and pitchforks. All right?
I mean, like if we ignore the bit about invalidating the prior OGL, it's still a bad agreement.
Oh, yeah, it's still a horrible agreement, because there's several other parts. Let's talk about the next one, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst parts. They have the ability to change it at any point with just 30 days' notice.
Right, which is crazy because projects require more lead time than that. You could invest a bunch of money in a book that you're putting out, and you'd be 2 months from publishing it, and they suddenly change the license in a way that makes it not a viable thing to do.
Uh-huh.
Which is why
Now,
we're stuck right now.
I did talk to someone about this at work for a little while, and I came up with a reason that a compromise with this one section. Instead of doing 30 days, do 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, even I think you could get by with 6 months.
Yeah,
but,
6 months would be a little fast, but I think the community would be a lot more comfortable with a year. Just like say, hey, every year we have the ability to update it during this time of the year. Boom. I feel like that would be the safest bet.
Sure.
Because there are some major projects that take even longer than 6 months.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But hopefully with a 6-month lead time, you'll be able to go, oh, you know what? We haven't spent all the money that we were going to spend on this yet. We can dial it back and not be, too screwed.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there is that, and that's a problem. Then that is one of the most problematic parts because people are like, well, if they can change it, what can they change? I'm like, well, for one, those money caps.
Yep.
They can outright remove them if they wanted to. And this is after you have already signed it. They could just say, oh, you've already signed it? Awesome. Now we're going to remove the money cap. You owe us 25% of any money you earn.
Yep.
And that's going to fuck people royally.
Yeah, that is not workable.
No, not at all. Then there's the other part, which I know is concerned a lot of creators, myself included. And that's the one where they say they have the irrevocable perpetual rights to your intellectual property to market, distribute as they see fit without having to pay you any royalties.
Yeah, they have an unlimited, irrevocable, perpetual license to use any content you produce under the terms of the OGL. And I'm not even sure. I forget if they have to even attribute you.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't.
It's just wholesale theft, to be brutally honest. Especially if somebody spends a decade or something writing a world and puts it in. Like, how many of those one-shot or those little story games that adventure paths?
Yeah.
Most of those started out as third-party content.
Oh, yeah. Yanked it a little hard. Dog's wanting definitely attention today. Yeah, but a lot of the things that some of us take for granted, we're like, oh, Wizards must have come up with that. No, it was some random third-party guy that came up with it. And Wizards, over the years, or TSR, has incorporated that into their game.
Yep.
And the thing that, boggles my fucking mind, and this is the thing that, pisses me off so much, is that with one D&D, they kept saying, we want to hear from the fans. We want your opinion. That's very vital to us. And it seems like, okay, you want our opinion to build your game, but as soon as it's something that could possibly, screw over your fans in the, for the return of the almighty dollar, you're freaking crickets.
Yeah.
Because Wizards and Hasbro has not said a damn word.
Yeah, so that's worth talking about, too. This stuff started breaking last week, and it was kind of close to the weekend, and you'd think, well, okay, that you'd think maybe they'll say something on Monday. But as of today, there has been one tweet on the D&D Beyond Twitter that said, hey, we understand you have questions about the OGL. Please be patient. We'll be talking more about it. And then the official Wizards Twitter basically just retweeted that.
Yeah, it's dead silence. The exact quote is, we know you have questions about the OGL and we'll be sharing more soon. Thank you for your patience.
Yes. And it's like, holy crap. Seriously?
It's like, guys, I think you fucked up. And I even replied to it. I was like, keep the OGL 1.0a, drop 1.1, no exceptions are accepted. Make some new contracts for NFTs and blockchains, because I know they were concerned about that. Other companies have done that, where they've made separate contracts to avoid getting NFTs or blockchain. And it's like, and then I point out, your entire community demands this. And I'm like, hashtag open D&D. And I feel like that's a fair post.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't attacking anyone. I wasn't, using any curse words, no death threats, none of that. I just basically said, no, your community basically thinks you're being stupid. Don't do this.
Right.
So there is that, and it's craziness. And that's one of the excuses they have, is they don't want NFTs or blockchains, and that's why they did this new OGL. And I'm like, you don't...
Hey. I'll fix it.
Go fix that. It's like, you don't need to have a whole document rewriting the OGL just to stop NFTs and blockchain.
No.
Mine.
I mean, shit, Microsoft did it with just one simple contract in their company. That didn't change anything else. And last time I checked, Microsoft is a far bigger company than Hasbro.
Yep.
Or correction, the Microsoft blockchain agreement basically says, unless we agree to it, you cannot make NFTs or blockchain.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, that's A-okay. It's like, fuck it, we're good. Let's go. But there are some statements that have been made and done. Critical Role has been oddly silent about this.
I mean, a lot of the big players have not commented yet, and to be fair, they may just be formulating a response. They may be waiting for Wizards to clarify, because, again, they're not saying shit, which is really weird.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. Someone pointed out about Pathfinder 2E and Critical Role. All right? Pathfinder 2e, the only thing they're using the OGL for was to allow third-party creators to keep creating stuff for Pathfinder 2e. Legally, apparently, it's distinct enough that if they remove the OGL from their book, they are completely in compliance.
They would have to change, I think, a couple of spell names, or maybe a monster name or two.
They've avoided D&D monster names for the most part. And for spell names, if you're talking about like Fireball, Lightning Bolt, or Magic Missile,
Those are unique.
those have been labeled as cultural terms, and ergo, you can no longer copyright them.
I don't know that Magic Missile's in the clear. It is, for their Pathfinder card game, they renamed it Force Missile.
Force Missile.
That might just be them being extra cautious. But I think that if they forego the OGL, that will be like one of the little tweaks that they would make.
Magic Missile. No, they can't use it for several reasons. There are multiple video games that have Magic Missile in them and use that term, as well as there's a comedy skit that what was the name of the group? Dead Alewives. They used it in there, and one of the things they did was they double-checked with their lawyer, apparently, to make sure that Magic Missile wouldn't get them into trouble, and apparently they're in the clear.
Okay. I mean, like I said, anybody can sue anybody for anything in this country.
Which is true.
So it may be that they're doing that out of an abundance of caution, but in their card game, they call it Force Missile.
Right. Oh, sorry, I got a little bit of tea on me. Yeah, so there is that. And with Critical Role, their Exandria book,
yes.
The only thing they have from D&D right now that puts them not in the free and clear are the deities in Exandria, who are a mix of old and new deities from D&D.
Okay.
The thing of the matter is, and this is where some people have speculated that Critical Role kind of saw this coming, or trying to distance themselves from D&D, is their current third season of Critical Role is all about the gods being in danger and possibly dying.
Right.
So, if Critical Role kills off their entire pantheon and makes a new one, congratulations. They have no longer have to deal with Wizards of the Coast. They don't have to, but they could choose to.
Right.
And I think Wizards knows this. I think they're smart enough to realize that's a thing.
Right, and the Critical Role animated series on Amazon has sort of scrupulously avoided any IP that would be directly tied to D&D.
Yeah. So they're mostly in the clear for that. Now, what does this mean in the future? Well, if Critical Role decides to go, hey, screw you, Wizards, we don't like OGL 1.1, they could either make their own game, or they could jump on Pathfinder 2nd Edition. There's talks that either one is possible with these guys.
I mean, Critical Role did start in Pathfinder.
Yep. That's why Percy in the first season of the show, as well as in their first season of their tabletop, was a gunslinger. And they had to, Matt Mercer had to port him over to D&D.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we even have rules for guns in 5e, is because of that game. So there is that. I know Kobold Press is taking a stand, and they're making their own system, so that's going to be new.
Yep.
Roll20 has agreed to a virtual tabletop license with D&D.
I mean, they had one already. I haven't heard. I haven't heard of any new developments.
Yeah.
They haven't spoken out and said, "Hey, we're rescinding our agreement."
Yeah, I think that so far they've kept it. Okay, dog, stop. Go elsewhere. And then there was the other two that haven't fully spoken up, but they've talked like a little bit on Twitter and stuff. And that was
Fantasy Grounds and the Foundry.
Yeah, Fantasy Grounds and the Foundry.
Fantasy Grounds, I think, does have a current D&D license.
Yep.
What are you getting into?
The Foundry does not.
Right. Foundry does not have a current license right now, and Foundry has made it apparent that they don't plan on agreeing with 1.1. At least. At this time.
Right.
Now, mind you, they could always change their minds. So, for all we know,
Sure.
there's that. There are quite a few major content creators, both on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, that have made it blatantly apparent, like they make books and stuff, that have made it apparent that if 1.1 is codified and basically made the rules, they will no longer make content for 5e, but not just that, but they will no longer support 5e, and they will no longer even, some of them mentioned that they won't even mention the name of D&D, while others have stated that they will never mention D&D in a positive light until 1.1 is revoked.
Right.
Which, that's every right for them to do, and to be brutally honest, I'd probably be right there with them.
Yeah.
It just, like, I will mention D&D, but it'll never be in a positive light, except in historical reference. Like, my experiences with 3.5, or some of my experiences with 5e, or whatever.
Like, our personal game experience.
Yeah, our personal game experiences, but, like, as an addition, I'm, like, as much as I enjoy some of the rules that they've came up with for 1D&D, I won't touch it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just like, it's like, you guys are not going to get a damn dime out of me as long as this thing exists.
Doggo, knock it off. And
Absolutely.
There's the dog.
Doggo!
Doggo. Yeah, Damien's like, what are you doing to me, humans?
You decided to get all up in my lap, so guess what?
Oh.
You now get to be part of the show.
Now, the one of the people on the Discord I'm on, which is just Defend the OGL is what it's called, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lawyers, it looks like currently, that are on here that talk about it.
Yeah.
I have to see if any of them are offline, but I want to say it's about less than a dozen lawyers. They've all talked. One of them is an IP lawyer. That's like what his specialty is. Mm-hmm. And he has made it blatantly apparent that the rumors some people are saying about the OGL and things of that nature, from what he's seen of the OGL, and he had got the full 90-page document in his hand.
Yeah.
He was able to get that as part of his job. He stated that some of the like harsher rumors are pretty much accurate. Like, this will allow Wizards to steal your IP, pretty much take all your money, and screw you almost entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like...
And there's nothing you can do about it.
And he goes, legally right now, as it stands with the OGL 1.1, until it's taken to court, you can't do anything about it, as it's written.
Right.
And that is a huge problem. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a terrible agreement. Don't know why anyone would sign it.
Well, I mean, there are some people who are considering signing it just to be able to keep making content because that is their livelihood.
I understand, but, you know, with it being able to be yanked away from you, that's essentially selling your livelihood out.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I think that's a bad idea, but that is their argument. It's like, some of the content creators I've been able to, like, watch and talk back and forth.
Mine.
Literally, this is their income. This is how they pay the bills. This is how they keep the lights on in their house and feed their kids.
Yep.
And they're watching their entire livelihood just suddenly go up in flames.
Yeah.
And they're trying to decide right now, is it worth it?
Well, or can you find a way to, you know, do something that Wizards can't take from you? Do something non-OGL.
Right. And there are non-OGL games that are being thrown around quite a bit, actually. And it's just like... what is it? World of Darkness is one that, like, a lot of people have pointed out.
Sure.
So there's that. Simbart, I cannot pronounce this. Symbaroum, yeah. Symbaroum's there. There's also Envoy. What else? Chaosium.
Yeah.
Most of Chaosium is OGL free, except for one version of Call of Cthulhu.
The D20 version.
Yeah, the one that's based on 5e. They have a D20 version that isn't based on 5e.
Oh, there's a D20. There was literally a Call of Cthulhu D20 book that was released under OGL back in the early 2000s as well.
Yeah, there's apparently there's one that's like they could get away with just some minor rewrites, and I think that's the one you're talking about, the old one. There's one that's based on 5th ed as well. It's like
I think that's from Sandy Peterson Games, not Chaosium proper, though.
So, I mean, there's that, and that could be entertaining to say the least.
I mean, you've got a lot of big players, and it might be worth us discussing just a bunch of non-D&D, non-OGL things that people can play. But yeah, I would say that Call of Cthulhu is supposedly the second most popular role-playing game in the world and first in Japan.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, some people are into that sort of thing.
Apparently.
I have been enjoying running Call of Cthulhu, and I think that it's a good bet that Call of Cthulhu will benefit if the popularity of D&D collapses. Like we discussed earlier, honestly, Pathfinder 2e is probably distinct enough that they just make a couple little modifications and bang, suddenly they are OGL free.
Yep.
Fantastic.
What else was there? There's quite a few others that are definitely OGL free. I know that there was the one that basically got into a tiff with the Trove.
You're talking about Zweihander.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're OGL free, if memory serves.
They are, actually, yes.
Yeah. So
and
there is that.
I saw the founder of Zweihander denouncing this whole situation on Twitter as well.
Yeah, and this is something that Wizards really needs to learn the lesson of. This OGL 1.1 has literally gotten the majority of the community to actually band together and go, screw them in particular.
Yeah.
D&D nerds, well, as much as we love this stuff, we don't tend to get along that well with people outside of our little groups.
Oh, no, some of us do. Some D&D players do.
Some do, some don't. It's
but
every clique.
But usually the companies don't get along as well.
Right, the companies see each other as competition, but once the biggest shark in the pond starts eating everybody, they all band together.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
It's like a schoolhouse bully, and everybody decides to go, screw you.
Yeah, and that is a big issue right there. Let me see what else information I have on the OGL 1.1, because
Kobold Press, I think we talked about it before stream, but
don't chew on the desk.
They're doing their own new fantasy RPG, which is fantastic. I love to see them doing that. They have produced some of the better quality 5e products, and I believe, if memory serves, they've actually worked with Wizards. Like, Wizards had projects that they didn't want to handle in-house, and they said, hey, you guys take this one. And they're like, fuck you guys now.
Yeah, it's just like, you guys fucked up. So the OGL 1.1 has been, the entirety of it has been leaked now.
Yep.
So you can find it out there, and you can get your hands on it, and it is heinously long.
I'm wondering if someone in the office who doesn't like D&D and doesn't do third-party content themselves did this accidentally to make a point.
The funny thing is, like, like someone investigated Wizards during this whole thing, and while the workers can't really talk about it much, the interviewer did note that the majority of the people who are working at Wizards right now, in their main office, hate this idea. Lenario, do you think Pathfinder 1E will be affected? Yes.
Yes.
1E will be affected.
1E is literally 3.75.
It is affected, except, of course, it is basically out of print now. But you can still buy the books in like electronic form from a variety of places. So yes, I would say there very well could be an effect. I would look for Paizo to actually sue about this. They're one of the players I think more likely to actually do litigation just because they're big enough.
You can, but isn't it different enough? No, it is not different enough legally to not be covered under the OGL.
If they thought it was worth their time and money, they could release a Pathfinder 1.5 that changed enough language to make it okay. But that's a big if.
I want to make sure this is the one I think it is. Yeah. No, that's a different one.
Pathfinder literally came out because people didn't like 4th edition, but who liked 3.5, but just 3.5 needed changes. And so this was their way of changing it, so they used all the basis that was from 3.5 and then enhanced it. Which is great, but it's very, very similar.
Well, and actually, it's even deeper than that because Paizo was one of the biggest third-party supporters of 3 and 3.5. They even had an official deal with Wizards where they were running Dragon Magazine for a while.
All right.
And then Wizards said, you know what, we're doing 4th edition with a closed license. Fuck you all, y'all. And Pathfinder's like, no, we're not going to abandon our setting that we've developed.
Yeah.
We're just going to make our own goddamn game. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Which is basically what Kobold Press is doing now.
I've been playing Pathfinder on and off for a long time. Yeah. And
So
have we. Here's the thing, though. There's a letter that's been signed by multiple companies. We got John Brazier Enterprises, Legendary Games, Lost Sphere Publishing, Stella Jama Publishing, Echelon Game Design, Independence Games, Studio Cat, Open Gaming Network and D20 PSRD Publishing, Misfit Studios, Zozer Studios, Battlefield Press International, Samurai Sheepdog, Dark Lake International. I'm trying to see if there's any on here that really, hit me that I recognize. And the company Cartographer. One of their big people, not their president, but it's president, head of the department of marketing for Cartographer. Also signed this letter. So what I'm understanding is even if Paizo doesn't print 1E, it's still getting books and stuff made. I wouldn't like to see Paizo Sync or Kobold Press or any of them. 1.5E, it's okay, but it doesn't give me the same experience 5E did for me. I don't think all the books are going to just disappear, and I don't think Paizo or Kobold Press are going out of business. They're taking steps to keep their business alive.
Yes.
Through all this shit. And I feel like they are creative enough and smart enough to get around this 1.1. So
we're not playing anymore, Pup.
Oh, there was a letter actually sent by a lawyer to Wizards. Give me a second.
Yeah, some company actually got a lawyer to send something through. I don't remember the name of the company.
I'm looking it up right now. Blah, 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 blah. Let me see. Thompson. Okay, let's see. Sadfish Games, Prudence Holding, LLCs. Or AKA known as Prudence Publishing. Pathfinder 2E, while I haven't played it, told it's a bit more different. I hope they walk back their changes to OGL, or people somehow manage to fight Wizards. That is kind of our hope.
That's our hope.
But I did find the letter. And yeah, it's about the open gaming license, the deauthorization of 1.0A, and the demand for a more definite statement from Wizards. And they did state in this letter, when they gave it, which was the 5th, so in 5 more days, this letter will go into effect. They did state that in 10 days, if they do not hear a more definite comment from Wizards about OGL 1.1 and closing of 1.0A, they will be taking legal action against Wizards of the Coast with the assistance of other publishers and companies.
You should have turned that off for today.
I probably should have, but at least it's a break. Doggone. So they're looking at working with other companies and so on and so forth. And the response to this letter has been, I think the list of companies that's willing to sign up onto them is
getting bigger by the day.
I think it's up in the 20s now. Like, there's 20 separate companies that have agreed to the terms of the letter. That if Wizards doesn't give, like, a more definite statement in, like, 10 days, they will, they'll agree to help with legal action.
Yeah, and as someone pointed out in a forum that I'm on, this is actually one of the reasons that the organization GAMA was founded. GAMA, the Game Manufacturers Organization for America, or Association, Game Manufacturers Association of America, or whatever.
Right.
And they're the entity that runs the Origins Game Fair, and they basically are a kind of union for companies that make games. And one of the reasons they were formed was because of TSR throwing its weight around and suing everybody back in the day.
Lunario, I don't see why Wizards of the Coast can demand royalties when they aren't making content. Third parties are, and if Wizards wants a cut of the pie, they should write new material instead of rehashing or re-releasing old stuff. The old adventure is adopted to new systems is great, but it basically feels like they need to put out new stuff. Here's the problem with that. It is more expensive for them to put out more new material than it is for them just to take yours.
You've already done all the hard work. You've done the world creation. You've done the storylines. You've done all of that. All they have to do is slap a new name on it and print it.
To be fair, Wizards is producing new material all the time. They are not just rehashing old stuff.
Yeah.
But the new executives at the corporate level are like, we could make more money. We've only got 80% market share. There's another 20% we can get.
Yeah. Now, and so, like, I had one person say, like, and this was actually a local argument. Like, good God. Give me a second. Let me see. Because this was the Four Horsemen argument. I was talking to someone on that. It was like, sure, honestly, over-acquisition is a problem. They had it before in TSR collapsed. That's why the OGL was originally drafted. They only leverage that clause on immensely profitable IPs. Otherwise, they run the risk of losing money. And I'm like, I pointed out to this person, last year, Wizards made $1 billion. Like, you can look it up. They made $1 billion. Other companies had to do the same stuff. I can't say I know all of the new material, but what is new?
I mean, they release a new D&D book like once a month or once every 2 months.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but it's fairly common.
We also haven't been we haven't played a lot of actual straight up D&D in years. We've done more Pathfinder and WoD than D&D itself.
I mean, they have been reintroducing some of their old campaign settings. So, like, there was the Spelljammer stuff,
which that went horribly bad.
Yeah, that had other issues. But like Candlekeep Adventures was an adventure collection that I liked pretty well.
Was Strixhaven them?
Strixhaven is them.
Yeah, I thought it was.
They've done a number of adaptations of worlds that have been introduced through Magic the Gathering. So you've got your Strixhaven, you've got your Theros, you've got your Ravnica.
Now, I will say this. Before the crapstorm with Blizzard, Wizards of the Coast was in talks with Blizzard Entertainment about doing a World of Warcraft book.
I mean, there's already been a World of Warcraft D&D book.
They're talking about it for 5th Ed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were in talks with that, and then there's the whole debacle with the sexual harassment in Blizzard, and that Like, immediately Wizards just backed off from
hands
that
off, nope.
from that talk.
Right.
It was like almost overnight. What else was there? I know they're still throwing stuff out for Ebron every now and then. Here you go, more popcorn.
I don't want more popcorn.
Then put it on the table then.
What do you see?
Please. Christ. Okay, butter and salt. Got it.
Oh, shut up.
You
have your own vices. This is the one bad thing I like to do.
Fair enough.
But for the most part, D&D will release every month and a half or so either a campaign setting or an adventure campaign book, and it will be mostly new content. Granted, there have been a couple like Tales from the Yawning Portal that are updates to 5th edition, but they don't just rehash. Now, would it be a lot easier for them to just grab people's stuff that other people have made? Absolutely.
Yep.
That is just a fantastic way for them to get some cheap content that they can shovel at people.
Oh, yeah. Now, the thing is, I know I've been asked on a couple occasions in my discussions, what can we as consumers do to fight against the 1.1 OGL? Because let's be brutally honest, none of us want it.
Sign the open letter. Don't spend any money on anything D&D.
Yep. Those are the two big things you can do. Sign the open letter. Don't spend any D&D money. It's okay to go to the D&D movie. Because the last thing we need is for Hollywood to think that we don't want D&D movies or shows. Alright? That's okay.
Because Wizards isn't getting money from those. They've already paid the fee to be able to use it.
Yeah. But one thing a lot of people pointed out, and let me pull up this and hide the Hasbro Wizards things. Boom, boom. Alright. This is the document they had. Isn't D&D Beyond just a cash grab too? Yes and no. D&D Beyond does have a lot of tools that are useful if you need them. I wouldn't call D&D Beyond a cash grab. My biggest problem with D&D Beyond is once you buy the books, though, like say you get a physical copy of the book, you don't have a code that gives you a web copy.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, that just seems dumb in this day and age.
Yeah. But this has all the executive names for Wizards of the Coast, who, everybody in green is the people who helped make this decision, essentially, or their job would have a hand in it. It also has the address for... my camera's in the way.
Yeah, I was going to say your camera is overlapping.
Yeah. It does also have the address for their corporate office and their legal office. So that's helpful.
Leave it, Damien.
And then there's like the links to the emails, which are like sample letter of complaint, letter of concern to the EFF, another sample letter of complaint, electronic feedback directly to Wizards, and a sample letter to Don Rowson. The big thing is if you're going to contact these companies, no death threats, no cursing.
Yeah, don't threaten, don't curse. Say, I am displeased with your decision on this. Here's why. Please reconsider.
So someone made this post, and I agree with this post. This is a good idea. It goes, I mentioned this on a different subreddit. Don't just boycott them. Call them. Emails are often ignored. Phone calls often are not. I recommend calling their office's official number and leaving a polite message, a simple message like this. I am a paying customer, and I've played D&D for X number of years. X number of years now, and I would like to say that I am very unhappy about your news about your company's plan to destroy the original OGL. If you go through with that plan, I plan on stop buying or recommending your products. Thank you. There's nothing toxic in that. There's nothing offensive in that. It's a good message.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? Enough people do that and don't take note. Older CEOs tend to ignore emails or, the forum was flooded, but they'll sit up and freak out when they hear that our call center has been flooded with calls about this. Make sure that you use a polite tone, but it has to be assertive as well, in all your call-in campaigns, and then it leaves a number here at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that is their call center number. if you want, if calling on a phone is more comfortable for you, by all means do this. Send in emails if that's more comfortable for you. Definitely sign the open. What is it? Hashtag open D&D.
Sign the letter.
Sign the letter. I think. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the website here. Here it is. Open D&D. All right, and it talks about all that. You can easily sign it with your name, your email, and if you have a company, sign that. Use hashtag if you're on Twitter or any of their social medias when you're talking about this. Use the hashtag OpenDND. They will notice it, especially when it's trending multiple days in a row.
Yes,
it's been trending for 3 days now in a row. Every time I'm on Twitter, it's in that little sidebar section.
And it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, like last time I checked, it was in the last hour, it had 2,568 tweets. In the last hour.
It says 14,000.
No. Oh, that's open. Oh, there's two different ones.
Yeah, there's two different ones.
Oh, shit. I was reading. There's two different ones. One D&D has 2,568 tweets in the last hour. Open D&D has 14,000 tweets in the last hour.
And D&D in general has 3 million.
Yeah.
And how many people are on just the D&D one?
Yeah, 3.33 million. It's like, hi, asshole. Fuck you.
In the most polite way possible, since we can't be obnoxious. You might want to scroll because that's playing through.
Yeah.
Fuck you in the politest way possible.
Yeah, it's just, oh my god, it is craziness. It is insane. And it's getting enough attention that people have noticed this outside of the standard tabletop sphere.
Yes.
Like the guy you mentioned earlier.
Hi. What do you want?
yes.
Hey.
What was his name?
Oh gosh, Philip
DeFranco.
Philip DeFranco.
Philip.
And
Philip DeFranco.
Matt Colville had been tweeting about this, and Legal Eagle responded to him and said, "Hey, can we chat in private?" Legal Eagle, the famous lawyer YouTuber, may also be taking a look at this situation.
Oh yeah, but the fact that when Philip DeFranco mentions something, it blows up real quick because he does what's popular news.
Okay, you happy? You're on my lap, which means I can't do my
So
craft.
he talks like news, pop culture, all this jazz.
You don't steal
And
my yarn.
he usually focuses on like the top 10-ish stories every day. And the fact that he brought that up, that's a good sign. Legal Eagle jumping on it is also another good sign. Because he is very popular as a lawyer.
Hi.
So there's that. Hi, puppy.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's enough that this is starting to get into the general consciousness. If it was just gamers getting mad, then Hasbro could be like, well, we can ignore that. But if it starts to even affect their stock price a little, that's when they get worried.
Their stock price did get affected.
It dipped and then came back up.
Yeah, it did actually dip and go back up for a bit. Like, in the last day, right here, starting at the beginning of the day, it nosedived.
And then jumped for some reason.
And then jumped back up.
I don't know what they did. They had to have done something between 10 and 11 to make it jump.
Yeah, but as you know...
I was going to say, it may also be that there are people who had buy orders that said if it drops below a certain price, I buy. So that might just be, reactions.
Fair.
Yeah, because it dropped to the pretty low. And then it jumped back up. So my guess is that your statement probably is accurate. That because that much of a jump, that was probably a bunch of buy orders just going through all at once.
Yeah,
And it was
they have
it was within an hour.
10:40 to 11:05. So 25 minutes. It did a massive spike.
Yeah, those are buy orders.
That's buy orders.
And then, of course, there was the announcement of a Paramount Plus D&D television series, which great.
It's a distraction. I would say the television series at this point is nothing more than a distraction.
Well, I think it's a real thing that they plan to announce, and then Paramount Plus was like, "Oh shit, why is everybody in the comments all mad at it?"
Yeah, because Paramount didn't realize what was going on, and now they do. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Maybe we licensed this IP at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Goes for the skull throne! Blood for the blood god!
Well, that's a kind of perfect timing for that intro.
Yeah, there's Inquisition. Did that blow your ear?
No.
Okay.
But I did hear it, which is unusual.
Yeah.
Normally I don't hear the intro things.
I understand this only applies to things for D&D and the OGL, but it's like owning the rights of what they create creators. Then Wizards OGL, it's like, oh boy. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast offices right now, it's the Flaming Dog. It's like, this is fine.
Yes, they did cancel. I don't know. I didn't hear 6 as a number, but it was at least 4. They had only announced, I think, one of them, but yeah, several projects just got the axe.
Got the axe. And several of them were video games.
Yes, that's specifically what Lunario has mentioned.
Oh, I suppose they canceled. Yeah, I know that. That is very much how I feel in regard to Wizards of the Coast right now. Yeah, a lot of people want to grab torches and pitchforks and storm the castle, but don't do that right now. That's not good. That's not going to help us.
I have no idea why they keep axing the good stuff.
In this case, they're axing the good stuff because they think it's not going to be profitable, and the new CEOs and the heads of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are people from like Microsoft, Amazon.
They care more about money than their community.
Yeah, they don't care.
Oh, absolutely. That's not even a question.
Yeah, that's not even a fucking question at this one. It's a Microsoft flunky. Yeah, that's the head person, but some of the other like people in charge are from other companies. Like I know one's from Amazon.
Yeah.
And like that person is just like, who the heck are they to know the community? They don't. They know money, and that's what they want is money.
They could care less about us.
They look at the D&D intellectual property and say, hey, we could do a Marvel Cinematic Universe numbers with this, and they can't, but they don't realize it yet.
I mean, for God's sakes, you're pandering to gamers, TTRPG players. Yeah, we're very, like, particular sort here. We like our shit to actually work and not get fucked with. Now, with that being said, like, what am I going to do if 1.1 gets released, all right? Because I've been working on a book since...
I forced you to start writing it when I was pregnant.
Yeah, 2014, 2015.
When we got married, I forced you to start actually writing it.
Yeah. Canceling games and products seems to be counterintuitive. Not always, because if they think that it won't turn them enough of a profit, they will not do it. This is also coming from the same company that during Wizards of the Coast... not Wizard of the Coast, sorry. Magic the Gathering's 30th anniversary, they sold 4 booster packs for $1,000.
Where with the cards not even actually being usable.
Well, they were alpha anyway, so they weren't supposed to be usable, but they didn't have their backs on them. They were only the front of the card, which to any collector, like they were trying to market it to collectors, saying, "Hey, you can have the alpha cards in your collection," except those aren't the alpha cards. Those are just reprints that we could have honestly taken pictures off of fucking Google and done the exact same thing.
And probably had it be better quality.
It's not even a reprint, it's half a reprint.
Yeah, it's half a reprint that's worthless. Collectors looked at them, laughed, and said, these are worthless. I would never buy these. And they wondered why they lost money.
Yeah.
It's like holy fuck, what would I have thought? Compared to last year, all right? Last year, Wizards of the Coast made $1 billion. All right? This year, at the same time, so if they took the time frame of January from last year to this year, and then compared it to the year before, all right? So we're talking January 2023 to January 2022, and then January 2022 to January 2021, okay? 2 different sections. We should just tell them to get into NFTs so they tank. No.
I mean, that basically was what they were trying with that Magic the Gathering shit.
Yeah,
they were basically cardboard NFTs.
Yeah, cardboard bullshit NFTs. But anyway, so if you compare the 2021 to 2022 year to the 2022 to 2023 year, Wizards of the Coast made, I think it's 60. I think they were the 60% one. 60% less money than between 21 and 22. They made more, like 60% more money that period than they did between 22 and 23.
What was going on in the world during that time frame?
Yeah.
Everybody was stuck at home. What are you gonna do? Especially if you're a D&D geek. Spend money on D&D and play with your friends online, because what else are you gonna fucking do?
Yeah, what's the point at that point? It's like, fuck it.
You can't go anywhere, so you can do all-nighters or multi-day events with your buddies online.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how many games were we running online during that time frame?
4.
Yeah.
I
Every
think
week you were running 4 different D&D games, and I was literally in 3 of them.
Yeah. Because we had nothing else to do. Like, I was working...
We couldn't go anywhere.
I was working part-time at the time at McDonald's, so
I was working full-time in a lab.
Yeah, but there was nothing to do at our work. We weren't overly stressed by that, so we're like, fuck it, let's just play D&D. Shit.
And we know a lot of people who are like that.
Yeah. But, yeah, so they made, less money, and because of that, it was Hasbro that made the comment that they said, our goal in the next year is to increase our profits by 50%. That was dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unrealistic target.
Yeah, it's completely unrealistic, and they think they can hit it by doing all this shit. And that's part of the problem with this whole idea of, infinite growth. Like, companies are supposed to constantly be growing, constantly be making more and more and more money, and that's not feasible.
You don't have an infinite market. You have a set market.
And D&D does not have, infinite money. And that was one of the things that, they talked about in their little shareholders meeting that got leaked, is they want to capitalize on what are called the D&D whales, which are DMs in this case. Because let's be brutally honest, you're a DM, I'm a DM, we spend a lot of money, more money than our players do.
Yeah.
Because we tend to get most of the books. We tend to get...
The books, the figurines, the maps.
The miniatures, the maps. We tend to get sometimes custom artwork or try to get,
the little props, the little things that you can use to build your maps, to make them look better. All the little extra crap.
Yeah, DMs are the ones who do that. So Hasbro saw that and said, let's try to market to these people, not realizing they're going to tell you to screw off if you make it too expensive.
Yeah.
Because what was our first game mat here? It was a piece of linoleum that we literally measured out 1 inch by 1 inch squares.
1.5 inch.
1.5 inch squares and drew on it with Sharpie.
Yeah, we got floor linoleum as our first battle mat here.
Okay, in our defense, we needed a battle mat that big with the game we were playing, because our ranges were that ridiculous.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah, it covered my dining table. We needed it for that size, just because,
And that was a game you were in.
Yeah.
You remember that linoleum mat.
I do.
It was hideous.
It took about 2 hours to do that, too, but it cost us, what, $20?
Yeah, the whole thing was $20.
Where if we had tried to get an actual map that size from anything else, it would have been 100 and something.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was over 100. It was good.
No thanks.
But I think Hasbro and Wizards seems to think that D&D is like Games Workshop and Warhammer 40K.
And honestly, if they were looking closely at the example of Games Workshop and Warhammer 40K, they would not see the rosy picture. I mean, yes, Warhammer is going pretty strongly. They're expanding their IP, but they have also started to burn off a lot of their goodwill. They have been flailing about the rules. I'm seeing a lot of frustration in the community. Now, has that translated into declining sales yet? No, not especially. But there's a lot of discontent there, and I think that the best example I can give you of how it affected their bottom line is they tried to start their Warhammer Plus subscription service, which has animated movies, videos about painting tips and lore.
And they took down Astartes for that too.
And they did, yes. And but it also has supposedly a list builder in it. and it all is fine. I mean, the list builder sucks, but they didn't get nearly as many signups as they thought they were going to get. And they were giving away free miniatures. If you signed up for that thing for a year, you could get like a free assassin miniature and this other free orc miniature.
Jeez.
And it just did not do their expectations, because people were like, you killed all of our favorite fan projects. We're pissed at you. And your list builder sucks. We're just going to use Battlescribe.
Yeah, which is free.
Which is free.
Yeah, Battlescribe is free. Like, if you are ever into Warhammer 40k and you want to build armies, just get the free version of Battlescribe. Yeah, you can't customly name your armies in Battlescribe. Whoa! Print off the damn list, scratch off whatever you want to scratch off, and then write in pen the name of your fucking unit. Problem solved.
I'm going to be honest with you. You can actually do custom name.
Really?
Yes, I have the custom version, or I have the free version of Battlescribe, and I have my Crusade list, and I put in custom names. Like I named my drop pod Henry the drop pod.
Oh my god, you'll have to show me how to do that later.
And yeah, I don't know if they added that at some point, or because like you, I thought it was a paid feature. But there's some other things, like I think there's a notes field for the unit that you can only access in the paid version. But if you just care about a name, you can do that.
Yeah. And so there's that. There's free programs out there to help you with things. Now, some of us who are more experienced with D&D and have experienced multiple editions have seen where 1.1 goes. And you remember the GSL.
Yeah.
Alright, so the GSL stands for Games System License. That was what was released during 4th edition. That basically made it that Wizards said there is no open gaming license for 4th edition. Only this GSL. You have to work with us and pay us money, or we will not let you publish. And, oh my god, did that really help on 4th ed tanking.
Yeah.
That's what set Pathfinder. One of the things that set Pathfinder off so much.
Yeah, that's how Pathfinder got so big. Pathfinder got bigger than D&D during 4th ed.
Yeah.
And Wizards is scared of that.
And yet they're doing the exact same thing that caused them this problem in the first place.
Yeah, which is dumb as hell.
History's repeating itself, and they don't see it.
No, they don't see it at all, and it's so goddamn annoying because they're like...
It's blatantly obvious.
This is literally the GSL repeating.
Yeah.
And I will say this. If they continue calling this an open gaming license, I'm going to call them on their bullshit. This is not an open gaming license.
It's not, and to be fair, this is worse than the GSL situation.
Oh yeah,
at least
way
with
worse.
The GSL, they said, yeah, you can have our old OGL. We've got our cool new shit, and then it flopped. So they have learned one thing. They knew that if they wanted their new closed license to work, they had to burn down the open one.
Yeah.
And I think they've underestimated how much that's going to piss people off.
I think the following things are going to end up happening. All right, and this is we talked about this before, where there's several options.
Mm-hmm.
The first option is Wizards walks this back entirely.
Yeah,
because they see the community outcry, they see how pissed off people are, they see various companies already gearing up to take them to court, and let's be brutally honest, going to court is extremely costly.
it is. Even if you're a company the size of Hasbro, there are costs associated with that, and you don't want to spend the money, especially if it looks like you're just going to lose.
And when you are visibly the bad guy, even if legally they're in the right, they are morally and visually, everybody hates them right now in this group,
right.
And it's not going to go well for them because it's just going to give them more and more bad press. And the longer that court case takes, the more bad press they're going to get.
So, like I said, it can be. That's one option. Is being walked back. I will mention which one of these I think is the most likely to happen. 2, they're going to partially walk it back, and pointing out like the the thing that was really like leaked or released, it goes, see, that's how bad it could have been. We're not doing that. This is what we're doing. And that might trick some people going, oh, okay, it's not as bad. So I can see them partially walking it back.
Yeah, I have heard people put forward the idea of like, yeah, they put it out in this scary format. That way they can partially walk it back and people will agree to the other egregiously bad shit.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to fly.
Most gamers aren't quite that stupid.
Well, at least most of the gaming companies, I say, are the ones who are producing things are not that dumb. So I don't think that's going to be a thing. Third option is we're going to get a variant of what's come out, and they're going to try tweaking the language, tweaking various ideas to make it sound better.
It's not going to change anything. They're just going to try to make it sound better.
So there is that. And then the fourth one is they're just going to double down. They're going to be like, okay, you guys want to do this? Awesome. We're going to push this out, and you're just going to have to suck it.
I have a feeling they're going to try that one.
That's your guess. My guess is they're going to do a partial walkback. If any of it, I'm going to say that.
I wonder how they're going to go about it is the thing.
Hey, man, thanks, Codename TKO, for the lurk. You have a great night, my friend. Best of luck to you. I'm interested to see how they walk it back, but there are a couple of clauses that as long as they're in the 1.1, I'm never going to be a fan of it.
Correct.
Hands down.
We can change this whenever we fucking want.
Yeah, the changing is one, and the ability to steal IPs is the other. Yeah. I'm A-okay if they want royalties, but I want to see that percentage go down.
Or at the very least, be based on, profit, not total revenue.
Yeah. Either one of those options, I'd be more okay with.
Honestly, I think it would be stronger for them to base it on profit because, even if they were taking only 10%, but it's, on total revenue, you still are going to run into a problem where a project has a, 8% profit margin, and then suddenly, if it gets above $750,000, they're starting to lose money.
Yeah. I can see that. I would prefer profit over just a lowering, but either one I can see as being viable.
Sure.
And I'm not against them getting royalties on profit. That's A-okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with that.
That's reasonable.
That is, yeah, it's reasonable. They deserve to make some money, right? You are using their OGL. You are using their content with the OGL. And so there is that. But here's the thing. The thing that's going to affect them the most is, one, the community outcry is one component. All right? The next component is content creators. In particular, the bigger ones.
Yeah.
So Kobo Press, Critical Role. And there's a few others. I can't remember them off the top of my head. Those were the two that always came to mind.
Isn't Critical Role literally the reason 5e blew up the way it did?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest parts of it. I mean, it's like, don't get me wrong, their system helped by making it simple.
Yeah, I mean, 5e was a much better system than 4e. The fact that they went back to the OGL helped.
Yeah, that helped too. But I feel like the big thing that got as many non-D&D players into D&D was Critical Role.
Critical Role, Stranger Things was another good portion of it.
So yeah, Critical Role, Stranger Things, and Dimension 20.
Yep.
I feel like those are the three big things that if Wizards keeps on their current path, they are going to lose all three.
I will guarantee you this is something I would be willing to put money on, that they will lose Dimension 20, because there has never been a person more openly anti-capitalist than Brennan Lee Mulligan.
I can agree with that from the clips I've seen of him. I need to start watching Dimension 20. You'll have to send me the name of one of the series I should start with.
Well, Misfits and Magic was the one that I started with, and I freaking love it. I will say that it's not D&D, it's Kids on Broomsticks.
Nah, that's fine. I want to get to know the group first. That's the big thing I want to do, because I've seen clips of the group, and they are just downright hilarious.
Yeah. And that's not one that Brennan GMs either. He's a player in that one, which is also very fun.
Yeah. But if they lose Dimension 20, they lose Critical Role, which I think are both likely if OGL 1.1 gets pushed. Because let's be brutally honest, Matt Mercer, Travis Willingham are both very business-minded people. Like, they understand how the business works. And I don't think they're going to take a hit on their profits just to appease Wizards.
Yeah.
They're both of those Dimension 20 and Critical Role are definitely big enough that if they walked away from 5e, they literally would be fine.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Now, with the third one being Stranger Things could get away with still using D&D, but without having to pay the license for one.
Stranger Things is about done. Like, it's going into its last season anyway.
Yeah, it's going into last season, but like, even if they start selling DVDs or whatever, so on and so forth, they can get around it for one reason. This happened back in the day with Star Trek. That people were doing like fan stuff and some video games that came out with Star Trek that didn't have necessarily the Paramount license. But they mentioned Star Trek in the game, not necessarily the game was a Star Trek game.
Right.
All right? And that is, you are allowed to legally reference cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so, in that instance, like, for example, I know there was what was it? Deadpool. Deadpool mentions Star Trek at one point in the movie.
Yeah.
They didn't have to pay any royalties to Star Trek because it's a cultural phenomenon. So...
And enough people play D&D that if the characters of Stranger Things have ever mentioned it or even are seen playing it, it's something people do, especially geeky people.
Yeah. You're allowed to have that on camera and do that. As long as the show is not entirely based on that, you can use it as a cultural phenomenon. I haven't watched Stranger Things, so I don't know if it's completely based on D&D or not.
No, it's not. I mean, the kids play D&D. They make some D&D references, like the monster in the first season they call the Demogorgon.
Okay.
But that's also explainable.
Yeah, that's once again, cultural phenomenon. You can get around the rules that way. Problem solved. It's also like you're allowed to go on like any like geeky show. Like, I know some people don't like this show, but it's Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're allowed to make their geek references without paying royalties because, once again, cultural phenomenons. You can go on camera and go, live long and prosper, and Paramount can't do fucking shit.
Heck, they talk about in one of the seasons where, what's-his-face, the girl, or Penny, is pissy with her fiancé, husband, whatever, because he's got better makeup than she does, specifically for cosplay.
Yeah.
For going to a Star Trek convention.
Or like, there was another episode where they talk about Penny gives Sheldon a gift, and it's a napkin. And it turned out to be signed by Leonard Nimoy. And, like, he also used... She goes, oh, I'm sorry it's a little dirty. He kind of wiped his mouth with it before he signed. And, like, Sheldon lost his fucking mind.
Yeah.
It's like...
But shit like that happens with geeks!
So, you can do shit like that. That's A-okay.
Yeah, that's not... Yeah, you wouldn't have to normally pay for something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are things like that. So you can get around that kind of stuff. Oh, hydrate. Where's my water bottle? Over there, please. Thank you kindly. I said please. Jesus, goddamn Christ. Thank you, Monkey Man, for the Smurf check-in. I need water. But speaking of D&D and all kinds of fun things, I learned a fun fact today, and I realized I've been doing water skins wrong.
Oh?
Monkey Man, Daycare, Bullet Fam, Toxic, Kronk's Corner. Damn, man, you're just checking in from everything. So a water skin carries half a gallon of water.
Yeah.
All right? The amount of water someone needs to travel is significantly more than that.
Yeah, you need like 4 of them in a day.
Monkey Man, hey, what's up? Oh, not much, man. We're just talking about D&D, talking about the OGL 1.1 and all the fuck shit about that. So apparently, like, the average person should be carrying, like, if they're traveling multiple days without a water source, 2 to 3 water skins per day.
Yeah, that's about right. Given you're supposed to drink about 8 I think it's 16-ounce glasses.
Something like that.
A day.
There are some people that have said 8-ounce glasses for a total of 64 ounces, but there's other people who have said that guidance is a little
Low.
skewed.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, it's too high.
It's too high.
Because you get actually a lot of moisture from the food you eat too.
Yeah. But they said, like, average traveling, you should be consuming, on average, about 1.5 gallons of water a day. If you're doing,
Seems
like,
reasonable.
hard travel.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah, and I figured, like, that's reasonable. So that's, like, 3 water skins a day. So if you're doing a long travel, you need a lot of water skins. Or in my case, I just recommend the party just have a barrel.
Or a druid. With create water.
And a barrel. You need the water to go into something. So there is that.
Think about how much water animals drink.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Like, a cow can literally drink 10 gallons of water a day.
Yeah, they also point out that a lot of virtual tabletops would not be allowed to operate without the OGL. And that includes Foundry, Alchemy, or Shard.
Yeah.
So there is that. Roll20 and the other one, can't
Already
remember.
remade a deal.
They still have their deals from before. It hasn't been reneged yet. So there is that. Wizard of the Coast have shown that they are a dragon on top of a horde willing to burn the thriving village, if only to get a few more gold pieces.
I mean, fair.
That is fair. And this, I want to say that this has not always been Wizards of the Coast. Like, Wizards of the Coast has been a little bit into getting more money, but not to this level, until they got the new leadership.
Yeah.
I feel the new leadership is the problem.
Yep.
Because, dear God, they don't understand the tabletop community at all.
Nope.
It's just, they're like, fuck it, money, let's go. And the fact that during that meeting, like, and this was brought up, that they are claiming that D&D is under-monetized.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what do you mean by that? You mean literally that you think it could be making more money? I mean, maybe. There are ways you could do that.
I don't know anything you guys are talking about, but I can't stop listening. That's okay, Monkey Man. We're talking about a company that is screwing over their customer base.
And pissing it off to the nth degree to where they're probably going to get sued here shortly by multiple, at least I think, 20 different companies at this point?
20-ish companies that help make content for their game.
Yeah.
Now, there's, of course, multiple companies that are also getting involved that possibly could deal with gaming and stuff like that. BioWare is safe because their original license was not the OGL. They had their own special license for Star Wars. So, they're in the clear. We're not going to see Big Daddy Disney come down and go, oh, you're cute. You think you're a big company.
I kind of almost wish Disney would go, no.
No.
But then again, I don't want to deal with the backlash of Disney.
But there are also other countries getting involved, though.
Yeah. And Europe's laws might not be as favorable as
The U.S.
the U.S. laws.
No, they are not. There have been lawyers. NG Natural Yo-Yo, hope you had a good day. Hey, man, thanks for the check-in. I appreciate that. Same with you, Lenario. I know you've been here for a while, and I appreciate you being here. That's cool as hell. I love it when people hang out. One of the lawyers in the Discord mentioned that he's not an IP lawyer, but he is a lawyer in Germany. And, 10 little bitties for our owlbear. He's going to be nice and well fed. Thank you. I appreciate that. But the lawyer in Germany did mention that, the laws in Germany are way more strict about this.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with how much you can charge for royalties.
Oh, they're going to get slapped internationally.
So, there's the very real possibility that the German government might get involved. According to this guy. He says if they try to enforce the OGL 1.1 in their country, they may have to deal with the German government.
Europe is not nice when it comes to this kind of crap.
No.
No, and another nice thing about Europe with regard to this stuff is it's a lot harder for a big company to just threaten to sue a small company and get them to comply with a threat, because you're not as likely to get stuck with the court costs, because they will generally say, "Oh, well, you've been found in the wrong, big company, so you're going to pay all this stuff."
Yeah.
So it's a little
bad faith.
Bad faith, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little less odious using the courts as like a bludgeon.
Oh, there, hydrate. I'm so glad I put a cooldown on that.
Yeah, after what the one guy tried to do to
Marsh.
you. Marsh tried to drown you.
Marsh did 5 hydrates in a row.
And that's when you decided it was time to fix that.
It was time to put a timer on that shit. It's like, no. Oh my gods, no. But I mean, we've been talking a lot about the OGL. You haven't gotten a chance to say much other than a few quick comments here and there. What do you think?
As
Directed
someone...
at me. Oh, yeah, I was going to say me or her.
Sorry, I was looking at her and I forgot that you cannot see where I'm looking, so I am looking at her.
Fair enough.
Having seen what I've seen from... I am a gamer now, having not been in the most recent past for pretty much most of our group of people. I see it a little bit from both the gaming and the what the fuck is going on side.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this is going to end one of two ways, and most of which is not good for gamers. Because either Hasbro is going to pretty much do this and go, no, or it's going to try and step back some and go, we made it better, and then leave loopholes so they can just put it back to the way it is now. That's what I see happening, because bullshit. And big corp bullshit. Because you've seen it with so many other things within any sort of thing that gets really popular.
Oh, yeah.
And it ends up tanking itself because people get greedy.
Oh, yeah, people get, like, excessively greedy. It gets really bad.
It's literally just a gigantic, as this picture proves, a gigantic fucking dumpster fire.
Yep.
That or a train wreck. I wasn't sure which analogy was better, and you like dumpster fire better.
Yeah, I like dumpster fire better. Speaking of dumpster fire, let's have our dumpster fire back on screen.
Yes.
But it's just...
Time to warm ourselves on the fire.
But it's very much as somebody who doesn't follow a lot of the gaming shenanigans online and everything else, outside of just hearing it from this one who can't shut up about it, I love you, but it's true.
This is unfortunately
I'm hearing about it from people who I know don't game. I'm hearing about it because people have asked me, because they know I play D&D or Pathfinder, because I've mentioned enjoying the escapism that it brings me. But I've had people ask me about what it's going to do to our games, and it was like, if we're lucky, nothing. If we're not lucky, we may be finding a new game. And the thing is, that's the one thing I will always say about D&D geeks, is they are surprisingly resilient, and if you piss them off enough, they will just find a new game and then purposely do shit to make fun of your company for years, and they will not let go of a fucking grudge. I have never met a good gamer, someone who games religiously, that does not hold a fucking grudge against the company. Some derivation thereof. Whether it is EA, what have you. A company pisses off a gamer and they will never give up that grudge.
Yeah, I really never wanted to put Wizards in the same company as EA, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo.
But it's starting to feel like it.
What do you think, man?
I mean, that's a fair comparison.
Yeah, this is bullshittery we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, the old nickname for TSR was that the joke was that it stood for "They Sue Regularly," and it feels like, yeah, this feels like a return to that era.
Oh, that was a dark time too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like a lot of people who are like recent D&Ders, like some of them have seen 4th Ed, and they're like, "Oh, that was a dark time. We don't want to return to that." And I'm like, "Dude, I really don't want to return back to the TSR days." And it looks like that's where we're going.
And as somebody who had never heard of TSR, it was interesting to hear when people brought it up, going, "This has happened before."
Yeah, like TSR was bad. Now, mind you, I don't think it was ever this bad, but it was still really bad.
TSR was never in a position to make it this bad just because they didn't have any equivalent of the open gaming license. They did have a few companies that they licensed to do third-party products like Judges Guild, but there was never oh, you've made 20 years of content and now we're going to yank the rug out from under you.
Yeah. By the way, the Monkey Man just redeemed posture checks, so I have to like sit up straight and try to, not have my spine curved over like I'm Igor. Like, yes, master. The funny thing is, I got the Igor voice stuck in my head from earlier because I was watching a video where they were talking about Robin Williams, and they brought up the genie thing, and it's like, I don't like bringing people back from the dead. It's not a pretty picture. I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
When TSR was running things, I would never hear of the business side of things, so I have no opinion on that. I loved Robin Williams. Yes, we will miss Robin Williams.
We all love Robin Williams.
We stan Robin Williams in this house.
Damn straight. I don't know. I don't know which performance of his I feel like is like the best.
Welcome, traveler.
Oh, we just had someone join. Chrissy Ann, welcome to the tavern. Grab yourself a mug of ale, pull up a chair, have fun, and don't fireball my goddamn tavern. Hey, stopping in from the village to show some love, I'll be lurking. That's okay. And goddamn you, Squidgy, for fireballing my tavern.
I was going to say, it's totally okay if you fireball his tavern.
No, it isn't.
I don't mind a bit.
You know what one of these days I need to do? I need to find a way to like put my little head, like my body or something, in the center of the screen with like a tavern around it.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be kind of cool. Or I might just transition to like a VTuber avatar at some point. Just so I could do the tavern thing easier.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It's a thought. Just popped in my head. I don't know if people want to keep seeing my ugly mug or if they want to see a little cartoony picture of, the Ruby Mad Hatter. Write it down for later. Trust me, this is all recorded. I'll be watching this again and again later to see how much I screwed up. It's like,
that sounds confidence building.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, I saw a video a while back that basically was like, when I first started doing this, it's like, watch your own content and take notes of what you did wrong so you could try doing it better later.
Sure.
That was advice for people who don't become obsessed.
Yeah.
One supposes that you have to do it in moderation, yes.
Yeah, that's my problem. My brain doesn't do that. It's an unfortunate downside, but I'm working on it. Oh my god. Now, some people have talked about, will this be, like, if Wizards blows up, will this be the end of Wizards? Will this be the end of Hasbro? No way in hell will this ever be the end of Hasbro.
No, Hasbro's too big for this to take them down. Even if they get sued, the best case outcome for people suing Hasbro is that a judge rules that 1.0A is not revocable, and so they kind of have to throw their hands up and say, well, I guess you can make D&D content.
Yep.
Which does not take down Hasbro.
Yeah, it does not take down Hasbro. Will it affect Wizards to the point where they will go out of business? This one thing, no. But if they continue on this trend of behavior and they don't course correct, I could see that being a problem for their company.
Sure. I'll agree with that.
Like, it's going to take repeated faux pas of this nature for Wizards to go down. And
yeah.
I would not say it would happen within a year. It's going to take several years of constant screw-ups to bring down Wizards.
I have faith in them. I think that they can manage to screw up for many years in a row.
I could see them screwing up for like 2, maybe 3 years before it gets to the point where
They fire their PR person and hire somebody who's actually competent.
I wouldn't even say the PR person; it'd be marketing in this case.
Marketing too.
Their marketing and legal department.
I think it needs to go from like the corporate office, like the actual executives making these decisions.
Yeah, need to go.
Yeah.
We need to have a.
They need to do a house cleaning.
Yeah, I mean we've had. It's been pretty like common in history recently, like with the last 5 years, where we've had executives come into like franchises and just almost utterly destroy them, or at least hurt their brand by a large margin.
Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's a great example. Christ. Thank you, Elon.
That's because these people have been in an environment of essentially uncontrolled growth, and they couldn't fuck up bad enough to stop the growth.
Now they're hitting that. Like, another great example is the woman they put in charge of Lucas Arts and Lucasfilms.
You're talking about Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah. Like,
I mean, she'd been there a while. Disney just kind of formalized her role.
Yeah, I wasn't saying, like, she was in, like, never there. It was more of, she got more formalized in a more, what's the word we're looking for? Prominent position.
Sure.
And her attacking the fans did not help matters.
I honestly think that they did more damage by hiring J.J. Abrams, who I feel is a very overrated person when it comes to everything.
JJ was bad. Rian Johnson I felt was worse.
Oh yeah, but JJ was kind of the overall like producer in charge of that sequel trilogy, and he's I think the one that like gave Rian Johnson the go ahead to do his thing and fuck things up even more.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson is a terrible. Well, no, I'm going to immediately correct myself. Rian Johnson can do some good work. He's done great work on Knives Out, and I've never liked anything else he's ever done. Because I think he just doesn't have the imagination for sci-fi. I don't know if you've ever seen his movie Looper.
Yeah, that was bad.
If you have, great. If you haven't, I will spoil it for the people in the audience. It's a half-hour episode of The Twilight Zone that he stretched to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I want my 90 minutes back. I want 90 minutes of my life back, please.
It was just the most basic-ass sci-fi premise, stretched thin beyond all reason, and I'm just like, dude, The Twilight Zone 50 years ago
Had better plot lines.
Yeah. No, like, I Last Jedi was also a flaming dumpster fire. I think one of these days I'm just going to, like, expand upon this little dumpster fire picture of all the various dumpster fires we know of.
Last Jedi legitimately killed my Star Wars interest.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a Star Wars film since. I haven't watched any Star Wars content.
So you
none
didn't
of the new series.
You didn't watch the third one then?
Nope.
Be glad.
I know. I've heard about what happens. I feel like my criticism of it is different than a lot of people's. Like, I know a lot of people didn't like, Rey and Finn and Poe, and I like them. I like those characters. My main problem with Last Jedi is that they didn't fucking do anything with them.
No, like, for me, it was like, I didn't care for Rey, but I didn't hate her. It was just, I was very neutral with her. I'm like, meh, she's okay. I mean, we've seen worse characters out there. But
the storyline sucked.
But it didn't ring my bell. I was wanting more bromance with Finn and Poe. Like, give me more bromance, man. Because in the first movie, that like, The Force Awakens, they had this glorious bromance.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I was like, fuck, this was cool as hell. And, like, when one person told me, it's like, hey, there's a possibility they could be in a gay relationship, and I was like, yes! Give me that! Like, I want that.
There's just, The Last Jedi...
Like, damn it.
I could go on a rant about The Last Jedi for a while, but I don't want to. I will say this. My main beef with it is it spends most of its time saying, Star Wars? You expect us to do what a Star Wars movie would do? Fuck Star Wars. I don't like Star Wars. Star Wars isn't cool. Because every time a character does something that a Star Wars character would do, they get punished for it. And, like, I'll give you an example. When Rey and Kylo Ren are escaping from the big Star Destroyer after the meeting and the fight, it's like most Star Wars movies would show the fight after she wakes up, she has to fight her way out, she gets her way to her ship. Nope, she just sort of gets out. Action scene? Why do we need an action scene? This is a Star Wars movie.
Not to mention, like, if I was going to say that there's any one character, or sorry, there are two characters in The Last Jedi I would have loved to see written out of the frickin' movie entirely.
And I know who one of them's going to be.
Who's one of them?
Vice Admiral Holdo.
Yep. That was the way she talked to her subordinate. She is a military admiral, and she's talking to her subordinate much like a disappointed teacher would talk to a class clown.
Right, and she punishes Poe for his mutiny, but hey, you're the commanding officer, it's your job to manage morale, and you've literally got to guard the fucking escape hatches because people are so desperate that they are willing to eject an escape pod in front of an Imperial fleet. You have failed in your duty to manage the situation. You could have spared all of this by saying, hey, I have a plan. I can't tell you what it is right now because I don't want it leaking out to Imperial forces, but there is in fact a plan.
Yeah, like, the one comment I always told some of my friends about the rewrite was, like when Poe went to confront her about, hey, the ships are getting blown up, oh god, we're gonna die. It's like, she could have turned to look at him and go, look, we have a plan, like much like you said, he goes, but somehow they're tracking us. I believe there is a spy on board, and I cannot let them get that information, so please trust me until we get to a point where I can tell you the plan in confidence. And that would have fixed everything.
Yep.
There would have been no mutiny. There would have been no freaking casino planet. None of that shit.
Correct. Yeah, that is basically the gist of my problem, is that it's such lazy writing. He had to contrive it so hard to get this exact situation.
And what made it even worse is, like, Holdo knew the plan. Leia knew the plan, but Leia was incapacitated. Holdo was the only one with the plan. She should have, at some point, as a military person, especially if she's supposed to be a tactical genius, take her second in command, which was Poe, into a private room, tell him the damn plan in case something happened to her.
I mean, yeah.
That's what you do in the military. You at least make sure that two people know the plan. So that way, if one person dies, you're not fucked.
And if for some reason she thought Poe might be the spy, find someone she does trust and give them the specific plan.
Yeah. Give him someone else the plan. So that way, someone has the damn plan other than her.
Yeah.
So there was that. The other person that I would have liked to see written out of the movie, and I know that some people will get pissed off with me for this, Rose Tika.
I liked Rose.
As a character,
I feel like her storyline, because she was tied to the Finn storyline that basically was tacked on and useless.
Yeah.
Was frustrating.
She could have honestly not been in the movie, and it wouldn't have changed a damn thing.
And I honestly think that's more the fault of the story than her. I like the character.
I don't blame the actress at all. None. Mm-hmm. I blame the writers for writing a character that does not matter. They could have rewritten her in a way that where she had a skill or an ability that would have mattered. Like,
I disagree with you slightly here. I don't think she needs
with a sword in one hand and a harp in the other, shouting my greatness from the rooftops, laying bitches and slaying witches, or is it laying witches and slaying bitches? I can't quite remember.
Right.
I was too busy giving the tavern
she was in this
same
useless
business.
ass side storyline, and nothing really felt like it mattered.
Go soak. All right. Sorry about that. Anne's gonna go soak.
Yep. I like Rose. and I really, really hated how she was treated by the fandom at large. Like I said, my complaints are different from a lot of these fucking incels are like, yeah, they made a woman the main Jedi, and yeah,
Whoa.
fuck that shit. That's fine.
Who cares?
But yeah, it's just the movie opens with them using bombers in space that drop bombs down where you cannot have gravity as a given.
Well, it's not even just that, and this is the thing that drove me up a wall. It's like you have these poorly designed bombers, and they're like, oh, it's a resistance. They may not have had, all the resources necessary to fight with really good bombers. I'm like, Y-Wings are still a thing. Y-Wings are cheap.
Even if you didn't have them, why do you have space-capable bombers that drop bombs that are literally gravity-oriented?
Yeah, it's so dumb. Thank you, Chrissy Ann, for the hype, by the way. And thank you, Glistening Faye Fox, for the check-in. Thank you. Yeah, it made no sense. Like, they could have... This was the Resistance. They had still access to, X-Wings and stuff. Why couldn't they have access to Y-Wings? Y-Wings are everywhere.
And then, of course, the plot about... Well, the Imperials have figured out a way to calculate your hyperspace jump in advance. Well, that basically fucks any chance that the Rebels have. So, good job. That's a well-balanced technology. And then the running out of gas in space plot? Oh my god.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt so much. They played the video games of Star Wars and not paid attention to the lore. Because, in the video games, if you turn off your engines, you stop. But that's because the games are not very well programmed to keep in mind inertia. All right?
Well, and like I said, I think Rian Johnson does not actually like the tropes of Star Wars.
Nah.
And he wrote it in such a way, like, what Poe did in that opening scene, taking out that dreadnought, that is the correct action for a Star Wars protagonist to take. That is what Luke would have done. And he gets punished for it because Rian Johnson doesn't like Star Wars.
It's just like, what the hell? Like, when he successfully took it out, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. But then there was, the Imperial mistake where it's like, oh, we take on the base instead of the ship. And, a lot of people bitched about that. And I'm like, that's stereotypical Imperial stupidity. I don't really count that against the movie because, we've seen Imperials in other movies and other shows do equally stupid things.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Going back to what you were just talking about, though, we see Poe get punished after that successful run, and you're like, you see him blow the ship up, and you're like, yeah! And then the director, Rian Johnson, immediately punishes Poe, so you feel bad for having felt good about the thing that he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's an anti-Star Wars movie, and it bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then there's the friggin' the shields able to stop turbo lasers as long as they're a certain distance away.
Yeah.
It's it's never worked that way before, ever.
Yeah, there's just a number of frustrating things. The whole side quest on the gambling planet, I thought there was some legitimately good action there. But the contrived circumstances to get them... And contrived is really the word. And, of course, from a certain perspective, you can argue any work of fiction is contrived because it's all written.
Right.
Yes. But sometimes you are bending over backwards to create this artificial set of circumstances that make the ridiculous thing you want to do seem plausible. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, it's... And the whole point of the Casino Planet movie was essentially rich people are bad.
That's great. I love a good anti-capitalist, anti-rich asshole movie.
Yeah, it's just... But, you should have more on that planet than just that message. Because that's essentially all they accomplished there. Was just pointing at rich people and going, they're bad, and then everything else they accomplished on that planet was for moot.
Yeah.
It was just this is so dumb. It was so aggravating. And the funny thing is, I've been researching a lot of Star Wars technologies and stuff. Because one of the projects I have on my back burner was if Star Trek and Star Wars interacted.
Sure.
All right? And I found out what the max range of a turbo laser is in space. it's 3 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's its accurate range.
Yep.
Anything more than that, you don't hit shit.
Yep.
Because Star Wars relies on line of sight for their weapons.
Yep.
Except for their missile technology.
Right.
All right? So, right there's a problem.
Yes, that is correct. That is what I've always argued with other nerds doing the Star Trek versus Star Wars thing. It's like, yes, you can say about the power of an Imperial battleship, and that's cool. In terms of raw, devastating power, and a Star Destroyer would beat the Enterprise. The thing is, the Enterprise is, A, more maneuverable, especially at sublight.
Yeah, especially
way
sublight.
more maneuverable. And it has an engagement range thousands of times longer.
Do you know what a phaser's range is? Its max range?
It's like hundreds of thousands of kilometers, isn't it?
190,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
A torpedo's range is 800,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
So you're talking these giant ranges for Star Trek, and in Star Wars, your biggest, baddest weapon has a 3-kilometer range. Your missile has a 10-kilometer range.
Yeah.
It's like... It's like, oh yeah, but they have to hit it so many times. It's like, dude, by the time the Star Destroyer even gets remotely close to the freaking Enterprise is long gone.
They might not even be able to pick the Enterprise up on their sensors.
Yeah.
It's just such a long range.
Yeah, I don't understand that limit range. How does that work? What do you mean, like, what are you talking about? Like, does the weapon dissipate, or we're talking about accurate ranges? Like, how far away can you hit your target accurately?
Right.
In Star Trek, the accurate phaser range is 190,000 kilometers. And when I say accurate, that is they are capable of targeting a subsystem that is no bigger than my tavern mug.
I thought you were going to go someplace different with that sentence.
What are you? I think I was going to say my ass.
Wasn't sure how lewd you were going to get on Twitter there.
Fair enough. No, this is... They can hit a target this big from 190,000 kilometers away.
Yeah.
All right? Star Wars can hit a target the size of a semi from 3 kilometers away.
Yeah.
That is a massive difference.
Now, hypothetically, if you fire your turbo lasers at something that's, 100,000 kilometers away and happen to be aiming correctly, will they hit? Yeah, sure.
Maybe. Squidgy says, based on what? This is based on comments in the movies and shows, things that are shown in some of the video games, and then the books were a third source. Basically, the order that I did, priority of information, shows and movies were first. If it happened in the show or in the movie, I took that as priority information. Video games and books were second, and tech manuals were the last one. And more often than not, I threw the tech manual out because it often contradicted with the show or the books or the movies.
You know why, don't you?
Because they were written by dumb people?
It's better than that.
Oh, God.
There was a guy who had a forum who was arguing for the supremacy of Star Wars over Star Trek technology.
Oh, my God.
And he got the job writing the tech manuals.
So that's why the Star Destroyer has a power plant that's literally a sun.
Yep, because he was tired of people pointing to things in the actual text and going, no, your Star Wars would lose. So he got the job, writing the tech manuals, and was like, I'm going to fix everything.
Yeah, I threw most of the tech manuals out. There were very few I kept that were not official tech manuals. They were written by, like, engineers and shit.
Yeah.
And that's only if I didn't find anything in a movie, a show, or a book first, or a video game. And
to be fair, these results make sense because Star Wars is an action-adventure serial that focuses on, dogfighting and things to make it, exciting and close up.
Yeah, it's very close range.
Star Trek is an exploration sci-fi series where you don't generally get up and close and personal. And so it would make sense that they would have these different ranges because that's how their different genres work.
All right, and that's just weapon ranges. Now, I'll bring up some of the other things I discussed that were also very interesting. What do you think is the one technology in Star Trek, or sorry, two technologies? Let's give you two. What are two technologies in Star Trek that would just blow Star Wars out of the water?
Transporters.
Transporters is one.
And let's see. I would have to say.
I'll give you a hint. It's a non-Federation tech.
Oh, cloaking.
Cloaking. Star Wars has no concept of invisible ships.
No, I don't even remember like cloaking in like any of the novels or anything. There have stealth ships that have like electronic countermeasures, but it's not invisible.
The closest one ever was in Rogue Squadron, not Rogue Squadron, is it? Rebel Assault 2, sorry, Rebel Assault 2, where it was a ship that could hide perfectly from sensors using kyber crystals. And that's it. And it was an experimental ship, a squadron of TIE fighters. That's the only thing they had closest to cloak, but you could still physically see them.
Right.
Mind you, they were painted black, so it was harder to see them, but you could still see their silhouette on like planets and stars and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that. So cloaking would blow their minds. Transporters would blow their minds. Now, mind you, you couldn't transport directly onto a ship unless you got close.
Sure.
And the reason why behind that is the way the deflectors work in Star Wars is very similar to that Borg magnetic field that they have around their ship.
Okay.
It's not a full shield, but it does block signals, and it also blocks some energy.
Okay.
And that's how Star Wars shields behave. They behave the exact same way. So deflectors would be very analogous. Analogous. Thank you. I was trying to think of the word and I couldn't think of it. To the Borg shields. Borg shields and the deflectors are about the same. So if the Federation wanted to just beam a bunch of guys onto a ship, they just have to get within the shield of the Star Destroyer, which is a kilometer out of their ship.
Yep.
Or no, sorry, it's half a kilometer. It's half a kilometer radius off their ship. Easy enough for a shuttlecraft to do. And even their shuttlecrafts from Star Trek are faster than the ships in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's like, dang. Because in Star Trek, fighting wasn't a main thing.
No.
So they didn't care about how fast their ships were going. They were just like, yeah, it goes fast. Call it a day.
Hello.
The shuttlecraft with the inertial dampeners and all. What was that?
Inquisition's on the Discord channel.
Oh, he is. Ooh, what is he?
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I finally got done with my other D&D group. The Wednesday one. Or no, wait. The Tuesday one. The Wednesday one's tomorrow. And I figured I would jump in and join the Ichi Chats, though it seems we've moved on a bit from Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, we're still enjoying the dumpster fire, though.
We've been talking a little bit about Star Trek and Star Wars, and
we're trying to end at least on a high note. You know, good vibes and all that shit.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Now, I will say Star Wars does do one thing faster than Star Trek.
Overall, their faster than light travel is faster.
Yes.
Assuming you're on an established hyperlane.
Right. Which there are ships designed to hunt down hyperlanes and discover them and how to figure them out.
Yep.
So that's a thing. Now, when I looked at cultures, though, I will say this. The Rebels would get support not just from the Federation, but the Federation would be not military support, but just like Let's give them medical supplies, food, that shit. Because they would see the rebellion as an internal struggle. If that makes sense.
Plus, if you think about it, they then have plausible deniability with, well, all we gave you was food and medical supplies. You can't argue that we're helping you militaristically.
Right. But there is one Star Trek faction that would be all gung-ho for fighting the Empire.
Yeah.
And I mean that literally.
Yeah.
And that would be the Klingons.
Yeah, the Klingons would love that.
Because they're like, smaller guy fighting a bigger empire in glorious combat. Kapla! It'd just be... They would totally be down for it. The Romulans would be like, we're going to kind of leave ourselves to, your own devices. The Borg actually have a weakness to Star Trek. Star Wars.
Okay.
The prevalence of slug throwers.
Oh, that's true. I guess Star Wars does still have common slug throwers in use.
Yeah, and they're a lot. Glistening Fae Fox had my D&T today. Awesome. I hope your game went well, dude. Yeah, Star Wars has a lot of slug throwers. They also have a lot of physical melee weapons. And people who are trained in how to use them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like some dude just bashing them over the head. It's like, you got some rather finesseful people that if push came to shove, they could deal with a Borg and not get touched and slice and dice the Borg quite a bit.
Well, if you think about it, the Mandalorians are definitely ones to do that because they dislike getting in close combat because of the Jedi. So put them up against the Borg on ground combat, they're going to demolish because they use missiles, like you said earlier, slug throwers and things of that nature.
Flamethrowers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Burn, bitch. Parry this, you little bastard. Or adapt to this in this case.
I don't know if you guys have both seen Robot Chicken, but there was a classic Boba Fett sketch that they did a couple years back, and then when Boba shows back up in The Mandalorian, someone took the audio from the old Robot Chicken sketch and put it with the new, Return of Boba Fett live action footage, and it is glorious.
I'll have to look it up sometime. That sounds funny as hell. But no, and I know how the Empire is going to react to most of the things in Star Trek. They're going to be like, oh, Xeno-loving, alien-loving scum. Let's kill him. And that's going to go poorly.
Yep.
Because, the other thing, and this is the third tech that I feel would be a game changer involving Star Wars, replicators.
Yeah, that's actually what I was circling around to before you mentioned it was a non-Federation that you were thinking of.
I watched 2 people eat mushrooms and fail.
By the way, I just direct Discorded you the relevant clip.
Oh, I'll have to check it out later.
Yep.
Oh, my God. Jeez, that's hilarious. So yeah,
replicators make you a post-scarcity society, so it's a lot harder to oppress people who basically don't have to rely on you for economic stability.
Yeah. And that just, it'd be funny as hell, because you got different factions, so on and so forth. If the Empire even ran into Dominion, they're totally screwed.
Yeah.
Because, you got Jem'Hadar coming out of Cloak, you got freaking the Founders showing up who could look like anybody.
The Founders, I think, would be just absolutely devastating. They don't really have a good way to deal with that.
No, they don't. They're like, what the fuck just happened? Well, I can look like anybody on your ship. I killed your guy and took his place, and I even have his code cylinders. Have a nice day. Or I could pretend to be the potted plant in the corner and listening to all your shit. Fuck off. Hey, Shayna, let's go. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think it's also worth mentioning that the Federation has an advantage in both computers technology and sensor technology. So it's likely that any encryption that the Empire has ain't shit.
Oh yeah, there's that. But there's one thing I wanted to point out. Never underestimate. Ducat makes a statement in DS9.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the exact line. I don't think I'm going to find it. I have learned to never underestimate the technical ability. I think that's the line, but I'm not sure.
What's the line?
Okay, I'm probably going to misquote this because I'm really bad.
Okay.
But it was in one of the episodes in Deep Space Nine where they were retaking Deep Space Nine with the Dominion, and they start shooting it, and it starts hitting the shields, and Wei Yun goes, "This is not good. Our weapons have always been able to bypass their shields." And Ducat makes the line. He goes, "I have learned never to underestimate the technical prowess of the Federation."
Uh-huh.
That is the Federation's biggest strength. Is what, like, people like to make fun of, like, the Borg adapts to everything. Like, no, the Federation is the big adapter. They adapt to everything and be able to find a way to kill your ass if they need to.
Yes, the Borg are a cyborg culture that is based entirely on the idea of instantly adapting to anything, and the Federation out-adapts them. That's how they beat the Borg.
Yeah, it's literally crazy. Like, they think of new tactics, new technologies, new crazy shit, and they adapt to the Borg.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's one thing I always try to point out to people with this whole Star Wars, Star Trek thing is, like, the Federation just has to last a few months.
They just need a few encounters where they can gather data on what's going on, and then they will have a litany of things to basically destroy the Empire.
Yeah, like, almost entirely. And God help you if the Federation gets to the Star Wars galaxy, because then you got the Galactic HoloNet, and the Federation can just go, "Oh, look, all your communications, bye-bye."
Or all your communications, we have them now.
Yeah, they belong to us. All your base are to belong to us.
And how long, do you think it would take the Federation to figure out hyperspace travel?
Well, here's the thing. With the interaction process I came up with and some of the research I did, the Rebels would have no problem sharing that technology with the Federation in return for some help.
Yeah.
Like, that's the Rebels shtick. So, right there, boom, the Federation now has hyperspace technology.
Mm-hmm.
And they've proven beyond a shadow of doubt they can refit their ships without even having to be in a space dock.
Yeah.
So, right there, there you go.
You've got them putting together ships that have dual warp hyperspace drives so they can go off-road if they need to, but they can travel just as fast as anything that Star Wars can produce.
Yep. Probably faster in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it, but, like, how long really would it take for the Federation to be better at hyperspace?
Yeah, essentially. Because we got Federation who's going to be like, let's send a probe through hyperspace just to check out the route. Like, let's not sacrifice a ship. Where the Empire sacrifices ships and people to scout hyperspace routes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of technology in Star Wars is like, oh, someone in the ancient past put this together. We don't know who. We don't even really fully understand it, and we can't make new hyperspace stuff, but we know the routes and how to use them. How long would it take the Federation to go, here's how you make new hyperspace routes?
Yeah, you just need this, this particle effect on both sides, and then an energy wave, and then you send it through the magnetosphere, something like, enter technical jargon here.
Yes.
And ta-da, you have a hyperspace route.
Make your saving throw versus technobabble.
Yeah.
Also, if you think about the way the Federation has tried to go around solving problems in the past, their first answer was usually, can we talk this out?
Yep.
And if not, that'll buy us at least a bit of time to go give me some info on your military. I mean, your society. I mean, what's the problem here?
Yeah, let's have a cultural exchange. Send over a few officers. We'll learn from them.
Yes.
It's like Imperial Intelligence versus Section 31.
Yeah, that was about who I was going to bring up. And I was like, Section 31 versus Imperial Intelligence. Imperial Intelligence is fucked. We are talking about guys who are perfectly fine genociding a whole planet, with, like a whole race with fucking disease, and are almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
And this was from a race of people who could literally turn into anything.
Yep.
It's like, damn, man. Like, yeah, the Empire's done some really heinous shit. And Imperial Intelligence has done more heinous shit than, Section 31 has. But that's because Section 31 has had to operate in the shadows. Where Imperial Intelligence hasn't.
Yeah.
I personally think that Tal Shiar can beat the shit out of the freaking Imperial Intelligence.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and that's the lowest of the intelligence branches.
I mean, I don't even know what Klingon intelligence looks like, so...
I don't know, punch it until it starts giving you the answer? Maybe? Fucking, I don't know, man. I haven't found anything in my research yet, so that tells you something.
Yeah, that must mean that Klingon intelligence is the most subtle of all.
Yeah, either it's most subtle of all, or it doesn't exist.
Yeah, probably that.
It's probably the second one.
Doesn't exist.
So there is that. Transporters do have a short range, though. I will say that.
I mean, they have a short range against shielded ships in this situation, but transporter range is pretty significant, like from planetary orbit.
Yeah.
Their transporter range is longer than turbo laser range.
Yeah, definitely. So there is that. Another cool thing, though, that Star Trek has over Star Wars is better fleet formations. When you look at military tactics, fleet formations, and I'm talking standard ones, not hero setups.
Right.
The Federation is better at working as a team in ship formation than the Empire is.
Yeah. I mean, your Empire ships tend to be a Star Destroyer controls an entire sector. It might have a few smaller supporting ships, but you put 3 Star Destroyers together for some big thing, and you just got commanders that are in pissing contests, and,
Yeah, it doesn't end well. Now, I will say this about the two. When it comes to ground combat, Star Wars has the advantage.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
And it's not just technological, it's also tactics,
Yeah, the Federation doesn't do it very often.
Yeah.
They haven't had a need to, and therefore they have let those skills kind of atrophy.
Yeah. Now, if, say, for example, the Rebels start working with the Star Wars factions, for the most part, then there's going to be some teaching of ground combat.
Yeah.
And then you give... Because one of the things that the Federation could possibly do to help with the Rebels is they've done this with Cardassia, who was an enemy of theirs. They gave industrial replicators.
Yeah.
And those can print... vehicles. They have the capability of spawning all the parts you need to make vehicles. Which means the Rebels could make more stuff. AP! AP's here.
Sneaks in at the end.
Yeah, she sneaks in at the end. AP, you missed all the D&D talk earlier. We were talking about 1.1 and all that jazz. Hence the big dumpster fire. Just anybody who wants to help with this whole D&D situation, look up this hashtag online.
Yeah, sign the open letter, make, polite statements directed at wizards to whatever means that you think you can stand, Twitter, email, phone calls.
So, AP, just to catch you up on what's going on, these two companies that are on the screen want to release a legal document that says they can charge you 25%. Well, I was just going to catch you up real fast, so like the Cliff Notes version. They could charge you a 25% royalty fee before your expenses. Okay, didn't cry out. I did better. They have the ability to change the terms of the agreement at any point, as long as they give you 30 days notice. And they have the ability to essentially steal your ideas and sell them themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like those are the three big issues.
And of course, logically, the one where they are deauthorizing the previous OGL.
Yeah, they're deauthorizing the previous agreement completely to where you can't make D&D content for free. Yeah, not great. No, if you looked on that, check your six. How's it going, Ruby Mad Hatter? Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm doing okay, man. We're just finishing up talking about the D&D stuff. Also talked about some Star Trek and Star Wars stuff because we're giant goddamn nerds. I'm glad it's good there for you, dude.
Going back to the Star Wars and Star Trek stuff, I remember certain parts, like you were saying earlier about the changelings. Now, I forget what episode it was, but there was a time where Cardassia and the Klingons went to war with each other, and the Klingons were saying you're a puppet of the Dominion, and it turns out they were actually the puppets of the Dominion.
Yeah.
And they went on and on and on about this till the Cardassians went, well, if you're going to accuse us of being that, we may as well go do it and actually get the benefits out of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so AP, if you want to check out, it's hashtag OpenDND. Anybody else, please do so. Like CandidGamera said, sign the open letter, send them some polite messages, but be assertive. Just don't be an asshole. Like, no death threats, no threats at all. Don't curse at them. That's not going to help. Things of that nature. In fact, I still have... This is the website right here. Let me remove those real quick.
Yeah, being polite is always more useful than being...
At the bottom, you can sign the open letter, do all that stuff. Lyrical Sloth OG, thank you. Go ahead and lurk, man. That's A-okay. The other thing I want to point out is this one, where if you're better on a phone, give them a call. Just be like, hey, I'm a paying customer, D&D, so on and so forth. Or you're a friend of a paying customer, whatever. And just let them know. It's like, hey, I don't appreciate this. This needs to change. Please fix. Yeah, no problem, Lyrical Sloth. Lurk away, my friend. So, I will say that, oh yeah, I forgot. Let's put the companies back on their dumpster. Because that's important. Now, I have had some people tell me that, with the Star Trek Star Wars thing, a Star Destroyer would just hyperspace to pretty much on top of a planet and then just bombard it to death. Or they would do that to, ships and stuff. And my counter-argument is much similar to what CandidGamera said earlier. How are they going to detect them?
Yeah.
Because at some point, they're going to, the Federation's going to figure out how to modulate their ship. God damn it, my fucking tavern just got fireballed again. I mean, I know we have a dumpster fire, but it doesn't mean I need to have my tavern on fire too. Oh, goddamn. So, yeah, let's just... How am I feeling today? I'm stressed because I wanted to release a book for Pathfinder and D&D. And at this time, I'm not going to be able to do that if 1.1 comes out. My best hope right now is that I could rewrite it for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. If they separate themselves enough from the OGL, I might be able to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to have to rewrite the book somewhat and add classes, spells, skills, feats, everything. and I've already been working on it for 8 years, and I'm really debating if it's going to be worth that much more time to write the book. If I had to do all those systems. Because I'm doing this entirely by myself, book-wise.
Yeah.
So, and I can only do it in my free time. And even every moment of my free time, I still can't write in the book because I may not have inspiration. I may not know what to write.
Yeah, you can't force creativity.
Yeah. So I only write when I have the inspiration, and I keep my phone right here that has a notepad on it that anytime I get an idea, I write it down in my notepad to see if I can do that. I got your 6. Thanks. Check your 6. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's my biggest concern. And like, I'm actually kind of scared about it because I'd very much like to see my book released to the public. I'd like the ability to share the world I've built with other people. I know Inquisition is currently playing through it. I don't know if you have yet, CandidGamera.
I have not.
Yeah, you have not played Traviel yet. But you know people who have. Both Matt and Mike.
Yes.
In fact, both of them have added permanent characters to my world. Like,
if I may, sorry to interrupt you again. If I may just say, from what I've seen of your world so far, it's interesting.
yeah, a lot of people seem to find it interesting, and I'm glad for that. I need to get it better written because I'm not a professional writer, and I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better. I'm also trying to get art, and art is expensive.
Yeah.
Because for my book, I am not using AI art.
No.
I have no problems using AI art for my personal campaigns because that's not making money.
Right.
But as soon as money gets thrown into the picture, I refuse to use AI art because that's stealing from actual artists. And I don't want to do it.
Absolutely not.
I may have to end stream here shortly because the dog is whining a lot.
Well, we're at almost 9:30, so it's about that time anyway.
Yeah, it's about that time. Let me go back to just chatting. Alright. So, with that being said, let's see who we're going to go say hello to. Alright, what we got here? We got Melissa in Denial playing Assassin's Creed. Which, by the way, she is my person that is assisting me with Stellaris Eterna. At least storyline-wise.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's my my Egyptologist I'm picking the brain of frequently. So there is that. See what else is going on. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy 14. Can't wait to see the collab. I don't know if I'll ever get her on stream to talk about what she's doing. That would be kind of cool, but it is what it is. We're going to see about that. Alright, let me refresh the Twitch page. Because that's going to... The dog is literally losing his mind. Yep. So, with that being said, because we're going to be rating Angel Woman who's playing Final Fantasy 14. If you are a follower, please use the following message. If you're a subscriber, please use the following message. The next stream will be next Monday, where we're going to be playing Stardew Valley. Hopefully we'll have everybody to be able to be there for Stardew Valley.
Yep.
With that being said, please make sure you're taking care of yourselves mentally, physically. It is always time for tea in the tavern. And I hope to see you all next Monday. Alright, so
Bye.
stick around for the raid, and toodles.